I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you'd all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any citizen comments? Betty, David, is there anybody on the list? Yeah. Okay, so there's nobody on the list. Are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda by board members?
I had a question about the policy that we were supposedly working on as far as board meetings and Zoom and board participation.
Yep.
Are we getting a first reading of that anytime soon?
So as soon as we have a policy committee meeting, that will be on the agenda. Yes. So
Thank you.
I actually have the sample from MSMA already. So
Okay,
it's
and I
ready to
have
go as soon as we have our
another
first.
to look at,
Oh, excellent.
That
Excellent.
is very similar to this being used all over the state government, but that's happens to be with the charter schools.
Perfect. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Any other additions or adjustments to the agenda? Okay, so we will move on to the action items. The first one is the approval of the minutes from August 30th. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes from the August meeting.
Second. Is there any discussion?
Am I plugged in? Well. Is I there?
There's just,
How about now? How about now?
Now, yep, yep,
That any better?
yep.
Okay. It got a little red light.
any discussion on the August 30th minutes? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? So the next item is approval of minutes of the September 1st meeting. Do you have a motion?
I move we approve the minutes of the September 1st meeting.
Second.
So the item has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Good. The next item is the appointment of first probationary contract teacher, high school science, Casey Spencer.
I move that we accept the first probationary contract teacher, Casey Spencer, for high school science.
Second.
My light is on.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Yep.
Okay. The next item is the appointment of the Maine School Board Association delegate for RSU 38. So before we move or choose somebody who wants to just dying to do this, I thought maybe I could just give you, those of you especially that are new, a little bit of information about what that means, and for those of you that haven't done it before. So the Maine School Board Association conference happens once a year, where it's a two-day conference where school board members go and attend different sessions that are put on by lots of different people, educators across the state. And on one of those days, in the past, this is how it's been, and they may be doing something a little bit different this year, but in the past, the delegates assembly, which has met during that time, and there's one delegate from each district, and the delegates meet all together and discuss the resolutions. So you all had copies in your folders or in the packet about the resolutions. So last year, the delegate assembly, of which I was the delegate, lasted for 5 hours, which meant during that time, none of the delegates could attend any sessions because it was happening at the same time. So this year, I think they're doing the delegate prior to the conference or.
No, they're doing it, yeah, if it's
not-
okay. It's actually going to be Saturday, which is the day after the conference,
Oh.
starting at 9:30 in the morning. It will be virtual though, just so people know.
I knew it was not during the conference. On a Saturday morning.
You all heard it. No, just kidding.
So anyway, for those of you that are new or just if you're interested, and even I learned some things as I went to a regional workshop on the resolutions last week, and I really learned a lot about what these resolutions are, what they're for, why we have them, how important they are. And the main thing is that the resolutions that we received and all the other resolutions in the past that we've worked on are actually the foundations of discussion for our boards and local boards, and they're all the ideas and wishes that all the local boards across the state have and think about and are presented to the legislature. So these ideas are what we make policies around also. And all of the resolutions are rooted in statute and law. So when we vote for them at the delegates assembly, then there's representatives that will take them to the legislature, and that's how all those school laws and statutes get voted in. And the number one focus of all of the resolutions is always the safety, education, and well-being of the children. So the resolutions for this year are all in your packet, and at some point, and I don't think we need to go over all of them today because we have until the 8th, I've got the dates right here for when the delegate assembly is. But we can vote on those as a board, and the delegate will take what we want. Like we could vote, yes, we're going to support those resolutions. No, we're not going to support those resolutions. And then the delegate will take that to the delegate assembly, and that will be our vote during the assembly. So I know you're all dying to be the delegate representative at the assembly. So do we have a volunteer? So as a board, we have to vote on whether or not we want Tyler to go. Patty, did you have a question? Yeah.
I make a motion that Tyler Dunn goes to the
Delegate assembly.
delegate assembly on behalf of our district.
I'll second that. Betty seconded.
I just want to make sure you're available.
Yes, discuss. Yeah, it could be all the, well, one thing about this year is they're having regional meetings like up until then, and they're talking a lot about the language of the resolutions and what people really are looking for in the resolutions. So they're hoping that all of that will be ironed out before the delegates assembly happens, so it might not be 5 hours. But I can't promise anything. Might go longer, you don't know. And Tyler, you have all those resolutions, right? Okay. Good. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Thank you, Tyler. We appreciate that.
So we also need an alternate just in case Tyler can't make it for whatever reason. So we do need an alternate.
I nominate Kathy Jacobs as alternate for whatever the thing's called, assembly,
Delegate
something,
assembly.
delegate assembly, something, something. Are you available, Kathy? Sorry.
I believe so.
Okay, great.
Second.
Any discussion? Wait, we've got to vote. All those in favor? Oh, wait a minute, Paige, did you have a discussion?
Ask if you wanted to.
Oh, sure. She did, she asked, yeah. And it probably won't be me, it'll be Tyler anyway, so. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain?
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate it. Maybe we'll have some Halloween pictures.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice. I'm hoping it won't be 5 hours this year, so. Okay, so the next,
Is it okay before you go on? I would encourage you, there is a flyer in there. If you follow the link, you can actually go online and see the clinics that they offer and stuff. If you're available and you would like to go, please reach out to Donna Foster and she will help with the registration process. And just so you guys know, if you can only go one day and not both days, we can accommodate that. So it is totally fine if you can only, if you can only attend part of it. It is all virtual again this year, but it is highly recommended as well. So if you're available and you'd like to go, please reach out to Donna Foster. She'll help with the registration process. And again, you can go both days, part of both days, only one day, whatever you want or can handle in your schedule, we'll accommodate for you.
and it's really worth going. The clinics and the sessions that they have are very informative. So if you get a chance and you're interested, it really is worthwhile. Okay. So on to the informational discussion items. So the first thing we're going to talk about, we're going to hear from Jay about the opening of school.
Based on some of the questions that I heard last time, I actually invited the principals to speak, if that's okay. So what I'm going to do is ask the 3 elementary school principals to come up. I asked them to review their enrollment one more time as they're getting ready to come up. Review their enrollment, just because enrollment numbers have fluctuated, both up and down. So I think it's important that you hear what those numbers are. Also to talk a little bit about mask breaks within their school and how they're managing that, as well as what their lunch times look like as well, and any challenges they might be facing along the way, and of course, any successes as well, because I know they've had successes to start the school year as well. So I'll turn it over to the 3 of them and they can decide who wants to talk first.
I would like to say for the record that Jeff keeps nominating me to do the speaking. And so I think I can speak for all of us that we've had a really successful start, even given all the constraints that we have again this year. The kids are so happy to be back in school. They really, really want to be there. The parents that are dropping off kids tell us the same thing. And the staff really wants to remain there. They're excited to have the kids back full days. We're exhausted because we're back full days, but I really think both schools, things overall are just going so well. Do you guys want to add anything to that?
No, I think do you want to tell your list?
Sure. So I'll just go on. My enrollment at Mount Vernon is currently 83 students, pre-K to 5. And at Wayne, my enrollment is 59 K to 5. We have mass breaks because we have recess before school, a snack recess, lunch recess, and recess after school. So those are automatically mass breaks. Also, teachers at both my schools know that anytime they feel their students need an additional mass break, they're welcome to go right outside and take that break, and they are taking us up on that. We encourage students to come to school with multiple masks so they can change them out throughout the days. So usually teachers, some of the students, I saw a student the other day, I'm like, where do you need to be? Your teacher asked you to sit down. He's like, I'm changing my mask. I'm like, oh, okay. So he's over in his backpack digging around. So the teachers say after snack, after lunch, and when students need to. So it's a constant reminder that they have those opportunities. Lunch at both my schools, they do have assigned seating, and they are spaced at 3 feet apart. And those are going really well as well. We have that, so we know where kids are sitting. We expect we've talked about like after the kids really establish the routines, they would have an opportunity to change up the seating chart, like every couple months or whatever, so they can get a new partner. Right now, we're still working hard, especially at the K2 level, just kind of learning some of those lunch habits. And we have a lot more staff on duty during lunch just to make sure they help out. I know a success for us is that we are learning those routines and expectations and norms throughout the building. And I had a blast reading a book to Wayne during their K2 lunch, and it's great for the kids. And part of it, you have to sing the story. It's kind of embarrassing in front of the adults, but that was fun. And then when they left, it kills me. The little kid, this little kindergarten boy goes, "Oh, I just love that story." I'm like, "I know, I do too. That's why I had to share it with you." It's like, "Can you read the next one?" I'm like, "Okay." So I have a standing invitation to come back and read the next book that's in the series. I think some of the challenges are just the kids are tired. The students that were with us last year, it's not an 8:30 to 1 time anymore. It's a full day. And anytime we start a new year, it's just a lot of new, and that takes a while to kind of build up their stamina just to maintain in school. But again, we talk a lot about slowing down to speed up. It's really important to have the kids have breaks and be engaged before you can dive, really deeply into the curriculum. I mean, they certainly are teaching our curriculum, but they know that if students can regulate and be focused and be ready to learn, that our dynamic and engaging curriculum will be able to be accessed. And if they're not there yet, they're not going to learn that. So we're really focusing on that.
I will echo everything that Janice said. They are super happy to be there, perhaps a little too happy at lunchtime. There's a lot of social interactions going on, which they didn't have direct, contact, and also like we're working on reining that in a little. Lunches are a challenge. We've got 90 in the older kid group, so to get the tables cleaned takes all the hands that we have in the room, but we're all pitching in, helping the custodian get it done safely in time for the next group to come in. And they are learning all that routine. Super happy to have lunch recess back and such. We have also been able to assess. We really targeted for assessment the children who left us not at grade level and who entered school, having been out on either moved into the district or were out on homeschool learning or remote learning, so that we could really see where they are. And I will be honest that we do have needs, and especially when some of our larger classrooms, the needs that we meet. But the other side of success is I do think I am really happy that we went to school 4 days and then 5 days last year, because the kids that are coming in that went 2 days, and I'm generalizing, I don't think they made the progress that a lot of our kids did make. And I do think our summer school had impact too. The kids that left, they came back in with what they had when they left. And I'm super happy, even our kindergarten kids. So some of our online learning platforms, Lexia and Dreambox, I think gave the practice opportunities when they were home, and other times that I think that they have some pretty solid foundational skills and that we can move forward on. And I'm really glad that we had went with our plan. That was a wise choice. So we'll be starting remediation starting tomorrow. We already have our groupings. And then when we get more assessment data, formal NUIA testing will be done in October. We'll shift groups as needed. So we're ready to go with interventions. So.
Abby, what was your enrollment?
Okay, 174. Yeah.
There we go. Can I say ditto? No.
Except for your enrollment.
Yeah, 195. We're at 195. We have 3 lunches, K1, a 2, 3, and a 4, 5. Our largest lunch is around 65 at 3 feet apart. And we do have mass breaks. We have one in the morning before school starts. We have an activity break, which is run by the classroom teachers, 15 minutes. And then we have our lunch recess break, as well as the teacher's discretion. If it's a warm day, take the class outside, have an outdoor classroom, or just give them a break if they need to. And, like they said, with a lot of success this year. We're excited to be 5 days a week. Back in school, seeing everyone back. We've got a lot of people back in school this year compared to last year. But, you guys are hearing the same stuff we're hearing on the news, and it's real. Struggles with bus drivers, support staff, and the learning gap is real. Whether they were with us last year, homeschooled, or at another institution, unfortunately, the level of education that everyone's used to is not there, and there are significant gaps. So hopefully we can lessen that and see great growth this year. And that's sort of our goal. So thank you for your time.
Thank
And and it looks like against their podiums or something. Is that an outdoor classroom?
No, actually, that is, we're putting up, those are from the high school. It's just called the Story Walk. And the high school's made these podiums, and then we're having our library put in stories. And they also have one behind the Reedfield Library as well, which Kents Hill participated in, and I went to that opening as well. So we're really excited. We're about ready to open that up anytime now. So I'm glad you noticed.
So I just wanted to add what both my colleagues mentioned about regarding the learning gap. We are using our different types of assessment, both informal and formal, to learn where students are, their strengths and areas of need. And there's a lot of conversation here last year, an important conversation, but we know this isn't a one-day thing and we're going to fix and move on. This is something we're going to be working with our teachers collaboratively, with interventionists and specialists and coaches to really figure out what are the best avenues that we can take to support our students and take them where they are and move them forward. So they've mentioned it and I just want to reiterate that. Thank you.
Thank you all for all you've done to make this a great opening for the elementary students. We really appreciate it.
And I'm going to invite both Dr. Conway and Dr. Levac to come up together. They're kind of on the same campus, so figured I'd give you them both at the same time here.
Hello. So it's been a very busy couple of weeks so far here at the middle school and at the high school. Parent pickup and drop off for those of you who have gone through that line has been no small feat. It's been pretty packed and busy, and we keep trying to change it and alter it. We've done quite a bit of changing, and I appreciate all the parents who have just kind of gone with it, which has been awesome.
Doing a lot of this.
Yeah, a lot of this and waving and trying to make up our own hand signals, but so yes, we've got a lot going on. So I think we came up with the plan yesterday with Superintendent Charette and Sean and Dwayne and I. So hopefully we have a better plan going forward to try and help ease some of that congestion. Just trying to revise it to try and get people in and out faster so there's not a huge line. But once kids are here at school, the middle school is able to offer more activities than we were in the past. Last year it was they would just have to go to their advisory room, and now we have some of our activities back. So we have our outdoors is available. So for kids who want to go outdoors when they first get here, they can go outside again. Breakfast is available here for any student. And then we have the walk the halls, and we just opened up our walking club again, which is really just a name where kids who track how much they walk in the morning will get prizes. So it's a good deal for them. Then we have, moving on from the morning activities to lunchtime, we've changed our lunch a little bit as well. It doesn't look like this, but we use these tables, and we have lunch spread out quite a bit just to ease it as much as possible. I didn't say our enrollment, but I couldn't get on right now, but when I checked earlier yesterday, we were at 302. So we are using the cafeteria, the stage, and then the art room, IA room, and GT room are all right next to each other. So that's a lunch area. And then we are using Mr. Mrazek's room upstairs as well. And lunch locations are assigned to students, but we've done our best to allow students to be able to choose their own seats within that space in that lunch area. And we do have assigned seats, but I say that, and I don't know how many times I've erased something to try and make it a little better, or put a desk up on there so they could be next to their friends, even if there wasn't a desk there. And we will be reassigning and changing lunches with our activity time. So when kids don't have lunch, they have activity time. So those change every 6 weeks. So hopefully kids can get out and try different things and be with different friends and things like that. As far as mask breaks go, we do have a snack time that's done on Teams. So kids obviously don't wear their mask when they're eating snack during lunchtime. And then we do have outdoor classrooms. So some of it, they may just be on the field, but we have 2 outdoor classrooms, one which you can't see right now, but it's directly outside right there. And there's logs that are there. We got a grant. The Acadia team had gotten a grant. And then there's another one past the field hockey field in the woods, a little bit further away. So we try and get kids out as much as possible when we can. Our class sizes, our enrollment this year has gone up quite a bit than it has in previous years. So we have been fortunate to be able to hire an additional teacher who's joined our Royal team. He was one of our long-term subs last year, and he's really good. He's been a great hire. And like I said, he's been joining the Royal team. With that, most of our classes are around 20 to 24 students. We do have some classes that are higher than that. We have, I know we have one that's at 28, and we do have some that are smaller. The Unified Arts classes, some of those are smaller classes. So it's ranging around with some variance in that number. And we do have, last year clubs were a really big thing for us. And so we are starting to get those back up. Some of the clubs will happen during activity time. And then other clubs will happen at different times throughout either the school year or after school, before school. Some clubs that have started up are the Civil Rights team, the Green team, which is our recycling club. We have an American Sign Language activity time, tech exploration, Minecraft, Magic Dungeons, Dragons, and more. Arts and Crafts Club, Walking Club, and then our ensembles for music are also starting up, which we didn't have last year, so that's great. And that's band, chorus, jazz band, chamber singers, and that's it. So.
Questions? Thank you, Kristen. Any questions?
All right. At the high school, things are going well. We've had a really good start. I know staff and students are feeling very positive, and it's great to have everyone back in person. We've had a couple cases to start the year, as you know, but by and large, the quarantining of students has been much smaller due to the universal masking and vaccination. Our enrollment is up from previous years. It's at 365 right now. Current classes range from 25 to 26 on the higher end. Core classes are 18 to 20, most of them. And we do have some classes in the 14, 15 range based off safety, like for shop, IA, or piano because of instruments. We have two different lunches, A and B lunch. Freshmen and sophomores eat an A lunch, and juniors and seniors in B lunch. And when they're not in lunch, they're with their advisor. We use scan in a QR code, like maybe you've seen at restaurants for the menus. So students can sit where they wish. We have the seats identified, but it gives them some flexibility to sit with friends and some freedom. But they have to scan in. And that really helps us if there's a case. It helps us identify who's at their table, because they have to put in the table automatically comes up, but they have to put in their seat so we can tell how far they are from other people. And it reduces that number of students that need to be quarantined. So that's worked really well. I know Ms. Brackley today was going around making sure that everybody logged in, had scanned in. At the lunches, we have 180 students roughly at each lunch between the student center, which is our cafeteria, and the lobby. Based off the 3-foot distance recommendation, which is much less than last year, we're able to offer all our courses this year and have all our students. So right now we have over 93 courses for this semester. Everything that we had pre-COVID plus more. In that 93, there are many independent studies for individual students to meet their needs. Our behavior program, life skills program. And we also have, I think, 10 middle schoolers who come up for math that we're happy to have. We have 55 students in CATSI right now. Most attend the morning session and come back in the afternoon for classes. We're able to provide a bus for them every day. 2 attend the afternoon CATSI and attend Marana Cook in the morning. We have all our dual enrollment courses that we previously had. 6 students are enrolled in the Pathways program, which is the associate's degree program, and should earn that before graduating from Marana Cook this year. We've added on a few dual enrollment courses. In Spanish is now dual enrollment for Spanish 1 and 2, and that will start in the spring, second semester. And German is dual enrollment now for German 1 and 2, also AP Music Theory. For mass breaks, pretty much what everyone has said, teachers are encouraged to take students outside whenever they can and have discretion to take a mass break whenever they feel it's needed. At lunchtime, like I said, when students aren't eating, they're with their advisors. That's often a time that we take a mass break, take our advisees out. And we'll be looking this Thursday, the leadership team is meeting, and we're looking to bring back focus time, which some of you are aware of. And if it does come back, I'll explain it to you. We held our club fair the other day. We have a little under 20 clubs. I know Mr. Remington's going to talk more about that. Kids are excited about it. Our fall play, students have auditioned for that and are now rehearsing. And I think that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? What is the fall play?
I can't remember the name of it. Anybody?
Is it a musical or a?
It's a play, not a musical. Hoping for a musical in the spring.
Thank you both for really helping the kids to get back into the routine and all that you've done to make this a smooth start. We really appreciate it. Kim?
Since you had the only pool of students that only went 2 days last year, versus 4 or 5, how are they dealing with the whole time management thing? Because I'm sure that was a huge adjustment as far as only going 2 days a week, kind of having a whole lot of extra time to get homework done, and now going 5 days a week, longer days, and not as much time. What are we doing to help them manage that? Because obviously they need to get the work done,
Yeah.
but to manage that change in time that they've had.
Yeah, dramatic difference, as you mentioned, with the days per week. And last year we made the choice, and we talked about it here, to reduce the schedule to 4 classes a semester, so that a quarter, I'm sorry, so that students only had to focus on those 4. But now we're running our typical 8-class schedule, so it is much more. As a district and as a school, we've taken a look at the curriculum and tried to condense it where possible. I know students are having long days, just, like everyone right now. We focus a lot now on SEL and trying to keep students healthy. Much of our advisor program, although it was always informally dedicated to that, is now formally dedicated to that. So I think it's helped students in that way.
I just wanted to say to all 5 of you that, so I don't have kids in here anymore, and so I don't know firsthand, but I have had, just by chance, people talking to me since our last board meeting that are from every school, and they have been such positive reports. It's parents and grandparents talking about various things, and it's just awesome. So kudos to you all. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
So next up, kind of just following along here, is we invited Brant to come and talk about student activities and what's going on, because I know sports and other activities plays an important role. And as Brant's coming up, I also want to acknowledge he's faced many challenges due to transportation issues, and he's worked diligently through them, and some of them aren't far from ideal, but I know he's worked hard, and he's worked with Kelly to be able to try to get as many in as possible. So having said that, I'll turn it over to Brant.
All right, thanks. Am I allowed to pull this down because I mumble anyway, and this makes it even worse? You should try being my wife. You mumble and then you put that thing on, you can't tell what you're saying. So yeah, as far as the co-curriculars go at the high school with the play, math team and stuff like that, I don't have any hard numbers yet because they just got going. But participation for the sports is Boys soccer, there's 26 boys playing. We have 29 girls playing soccer. Those numbers are roughly the same as they've been in the past. Boys soccer is slightly down. Football, we have 27. That number is actually up. Field hockey is 15. That's down a little bit. Cross country, we have 23 runners, 15 of which are girls. That's pretty much the same as where it's been. And we have 12 golfers and 10 boys, 10 girls playing golf. 10 boys and 2 girls playing golf, excuse me. We have a total of 132 kids at the high school participating in a sport. And that's roughly a third of the population. In the middle school, our numbers are tremendous. We have 30 boys soccer players. We've split them into 2 teams, an A and a B. And we have 41 girls playing soccer. And we've split them into 2 teams as well. And the A team, we have 10 game schedule. And the B team, we have now a 7 game schedule. We've been able to figure that out. Field hockey, we have 12 players. We started with 14. We lost a couple girls because once they got into practice and realized they had to be there 4 days a week, and they also do dance and other things, they realized they couldn't make the commitment, so we lost a couple. But we do have 12, so we're able to have a field hockey team. And we have 19 cross-country runners currently for the middle school. I don't oversee the middle school football, but we do have a pretty strong middle school football team. They had their first game here on Saturday night. So there's a total of 102 middle school kids involved in a sport. The only COVID requirements for sports is that you have to mask on the bus, but that's a universal thing anyway. And anytime an athlete comes in to the school building, whether it's our own or a visitor, for whatever reason, they've got to be masked. And that's pretty much the way it is everywhere that we go. If they go to another school and need to go inside, we tell them that they need to put their mask on. But while they're outside, they do not. On benches, they do not. They just have to while they are riding the buses. Some positives, it's nice to have fans back at the game. If you've been lucky enough to come to a game the last week or two, there's been a lot of people there. It's been great. I've really missed walking around and shooting the you-know-what with the fans on the sideline and having conversation, and that's really good. Whereas last year, I was just up in the booth doing a live stream, and it was pretty much listening to myself talk, which isn't always fun. Student participation at games is back. We've got a semi-bear cave going. The problem with bear cave is that we've got so many different activities. There's not a lot of kids left to come to the game when you've got games away and home and whatnot. But the kids that are there have been really supportive. You know, girls soccer comes to boys soccer and vice versa if they're not playing at the same time. The attitudes have been phenomenal. Kids are excited to be back to somewhat normalcy, being able to play and all that. Biggest challenges, like Jay said, was working with busing problems that we already know about. Kelly Thompson has been phenomenal with that. Her and I are contacting each other daily, sometimes at really strange hours, but it's when you got to get it done. But I just want to say Kelly's been great at what she's been doing. That's probably the least favorite job of anybody in the district at the moment. I would not want that. And I also want to give a shout out to the bus drivers who are willing to sacrifice extra time in order to help get our kids to places. For example, and even I also want to thank Steve DeAngelis, who's a staff member who has been filling in and driving a bus here and there, covering a PM run. Last week, he drove the boys soccer team to Erskine Academy and brought the bus back. So then Vicky could then, after her PM run, take the bus back over to Erskine and pick the boys up and bring them back home. So without that happening, I don't know what we would do. A lot of schools are in rough shape with bus drivers. I don't know if you follow the news much, but the National Guard in Massachusetts is driving school buses. So maybe that's something we can look at here in Maine. But yeah, it's tough. But again, Kelly's been doing a really good job with that. We've had to move some game times around the best we could to accommodate. The only other thing that I did want to ask, I guess, is maybe a clarification, because as Dwayne was saying, the number of kids that are in quarantine is a lot less, but someone who has a concrete, logical, mathematical mind is struggling with the logic behind some of the guidelines. And I just wanted you to be aware of one of them. I'm not sure if you are. And then I have a question that goes with that after I read it. This is an MPA recommendation that says if a school consistently enforces universal masking, mandatory masking, which we're doing for classroom exposures, students identified as close contacts from 3 to 6 foot exposure may continue to attend class, but may not use the school cafeteria or participate in after-school activities, and they must quarantine for 10 days outside of class. I just don't understand the logic where if you're indoors cramped together, a lot of kids in a room for 70 plus minutes, you're allowed to do that, but you're not allowed to participate in soccer or cross-country running of all things when you're running in the woods, not even near anybody. So my question is, are we forced to follow those CDC and MPA guidelines as you have voted previously, or is that something that can be looked at in the future? That's all I have. Any questions or?
I don't have a question, but I just want to say thank you for all of it. I went to a soccer game recently and it was really fun. And your live stream comments last year were awesome. So don't put yourself down about it.
Yeah, I've had many people, well, not many, but a few people said, are you going to live stream anymore? And my answer is no. I'm being really honest with them. I understand that it's nice that your relatives in Missouri or wherever can watch the game, but there's so many other things I'd rather be doing than live streaming. And I want people to come to the game. So I don't want someone who lives in Manchester to watch the game live on a screen when they could come unless they physically can't, but I want people there in person. So, but thanks, Patty. Yep.
You're also an excellent DJ.
Excellent what?
DJ.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
We
the
had fun with
music that you choose is very entertaining
Yeah, we had
during
fun with that.
halftime and stuff. I like that you still make it fun. It's fantastic.
Thanks. Best part of my job is being out there at the games because everything else is, I'm usually not a very stressful person, but dealing with these schedule changes and the illogical guidelines that I have to follow is making me think about other professions. But then when I get outside in the afternoon and drive around in the golf cart and interact with the students, it brings me back down to earth and realizes, no, this is the job that I want to do. So if I didn't have that right now, I don't know what I'd be doing. But thanks for those comments. That helps me stay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And I too remember the positive comments on your live streaming. I definitely agree with your feeling that you need to be on the ground doing other stuff than that.
Yeah.
But I would like, I don't know whether it's the board or the district or someone to think about whether there's a way or someone else, maybe even, you know, some of our students that want to be into that line of business or learning that might take it on.
Yeah.
I was going to recommend that maybe if we recommend it to the high school, sorry, Dwayne, you know, finding students, yeah, that are interested in, you know, whether it be news, you know, going to college. I think that's good experience for them, especially prepping them to hit the ground running if they choose to go to college or other stuff.
Yeah, I'll comment with two reasons why I think it's difficult at the moment. One is it's hard enough to get anybody to do something simple like volunteer to run the clock at a game or just supervise as far as like adults. And the kids are just so involved with things. It's hard to find any kids who aren't working or involved in something like that. And then equipment and money. And in order to do it right, we'd have to, last year I live streamed half the events on my phone, my personal phone. And then I talked to Diane McGregor and we were able to get an iPad purchase, which was very helpful, but we don't have any Wi-Fi down at the field. So for soccer games, I ended up using my phone data. And then basketball, we were able to get the Wi-Fi on the iPad. So that was, but we were clever with basketball because we weren't allowed to have fans. So we had parents running the camera and that kind of gave them a free ticket to watch the game. They were volunteer workers. So we were still under the 50-person limit. So, but yeah, no, it would be a nice thing to have. It really would. There's some places that do have that. You know, when you look at some larger schools, I know my son's in the Levitt district. They have Buzz Media, which is pretty much run by the kids. That'd be something that we could start pushing out there and see what the interest is, and maybe somebody would take it over. But great suggestion. Yeah.
Can I just say though, you shouldn't have to oversee that. I think you have plenty on your plate. And probably Dwayne, you too. I don't see how either of them.
Yeah, I think it would take a
has the-
staff member
Yeah, I think it,
to
if we are going to pursue that, I
and
just
to do
think,
it well, to be a staff member on a stipend who's going to be able to, hopefully do it the entire school year and have an actual club,
right.
because that's going to be an after hours thing. And, and most of our other positions that are after hours are stipend positions. So, yeah. Yeah. I'll put it in my budget that I submit coming up in January and February if you want, and then you can vote it in or cut it, whatever you want. Anything else?
Any other questions?
All right.
Great. Thank you, Brant.
You're welcome.
Was there, I know you know, but we have to follow it.
Yeah, MBA, and that's what the MPA, and that's what the standard operating procedure says. One of the things that will help us, and I'll just throw this out now, is we are working on pooled testing. Having pooled testing allows students to continue to attend their games and other events. So we're working on getting that set up. The nurses are getting training this week. And we will be looking to get permission slips out next week. And then the logistics of getting all the testing and all that kind of stuff. So everything's kind of starting to finally fall into place. But that will, like I said, with pooled testing, then that allows the exception or the exemption to allow to continue to play sports and participate. So it's a good thing in the end. So. Good. All right. I will jump to the next item, which is.
Sean, wait a minute. Sean, did you have a question?
Sorry.
Pool testing. So what is the number of students that have to participate for order to
Yeah.
work? Because I
Yeah.
read some conflicting.
Yeah, that's,
wondering what-
you're probably right where I am right now. I'm not sure what that exact number is. I've heard anywhere between, or I've heard a minimum of 30%, but I've also heard 70%. So it's like, where is this number? So as we work through, as the nurses get more information, they'll be able to share that with me. So.
Sorry to beat a dead horse, but so pool testing is based on a percentage, not the kids that are voluntarily, regardless of the percent that are voluntarily participating.
Right.
So if I voluntarily participate, if there aren't enough other kids that do, it doesn't matter. Or if I choose not to participate, I can still fall under the exemption.
So that's where it's all.
That's what
real
we're not sure.
squishy
That's
right
the
now.
mud.
Yeah, that's where we're real squishy right now. Is what I'm gonna say.
I think it's the efficiency of the testing. The more the students, I think the more its effectiveness, or that's what I gather anyway. And I think the lowest is 30% for it to be quasi good, whatever that means.
Yeah. Good. All right. I will jump to the next item, which is the ESSER 3 projects. I took the feedback that I got at the last meeting. So I added in a column that talks about adjustments. And if it's white, I highlighted it in white to let you know that there was a change there going through. Like, for example, the first one, Tyler had talked about like a 2% increase to the summer school program, just so that we were, anticipating increased costs. So that's why that number is in white. That's why I made that change there. If there was no white, then obviously it stayed the same going forward. I'll just run through the adjustments because I think that's the important thing. We did add in about $8,000 for enrollment because our initial enrollment, our initial request for laptops was based on last year's enrollment numbers, and obviously numbers have changed, so we need to get more laptops. So that's why there's an adjustment. We may not need that whole $8,000, but we figured there is going to have to be an adjustment there with that. The next one on the list is the space reconfiguration, brought that down a little bit so that basically having talked through things with the maintenance department, it seems like that bigger number, which was almost $280,000 was way too high. It was an overestimate. So we brought it down, and I think we can still, with that number based on consultation, still address the band space, the PDC center going forward. And the question mark is going to be what we're going to do with the high school media center. That's kind of the question mark. But it seems like based on the requests that I got from the librarian, that it should be able to fit within that kind of budgeted amount there. Student PPE was the masks and bell covers for our students so they can do their ensembles, their music rehearsals, all that kind of stuff. We had estimated $5,000. It came in at, it's literally $3,500. So that worked out well. And they were very appreciative that they were able to get that. I mean, they were literally through the roof, and that helps. That's basically being used K-12. So I just want people to know, like, 5th grade band is included in those numbers and all that kind of stuff. Classroom furniture, we were able to adjust down. Again, a lot of it was basically that furniture, desk chairs, tables for lunchrooms, and some furniture for the remodel in Reed Field, because there was a lot of, as any Reed Field people know, there was a lot of changes there. So they needed some things in their classroom, and they did a really good job with that. Adjusted down the EAB, the Educational Advisory Board membership as well. There is another revenue stream that I can use for that. So I figured if we just have 2 years in the grant versus all 3, it would probably be beneficial to get more, as you'll see at the end. The IM bridges didn't change. The DRA forms, we did make a change with that. I apologize, I skipped right over that. That was on the first page. The last box in green, phonics program K through 5, along with those DRA assessments as well. Then the DRA assessments, instead of getting one for like every single classroom, we'll get one for kind of grade level, school level. So that brought the cost down, which allowed us to be able to use some of that same money to start investigating a phonics program. And we will talk about that at the curriculum subcommittee. We will be talking about that and bringing that forward to you. So that way there's more information for you guys coming forth with that. So going back to that third page, we eliminated that kind of out of the budget. The principal for the elementary school, again, we adjusted. It seemed like the general consensus was if we could get 2 years out of the grant, potentially do a 3rd year in the regular budget, but also make it clear that this is a 3-year position that will be reevaluated in that 3rd year as to if we're going to move it forward or if we revert back to the structure that we currently have. I said this last time, I'm going to say it again. This is really, really important. I know people will say, well, wait a minute, it's a very small school, but you're talking about a school with 8 staff, with 5 that are new. And of those 3 that basically are remaining, one of them only has 6 months of teaching under her belt. So you basically have 2 staff members that kind of know the history and culture and can work through that. We really need an administrator to get that school up and running and back on solid ground again. So it's really important to me, and I'm going to be very, very honest. If we don't pay attention to this little school, we're going to be feeling it later on as we go forward. And it's going to have ripple effects into the middle school and into the high school. So I feel like it's one of those things that if we can address right now, we can probably get a handle on it and then revert back to our regular structures. The other thing, and Kelty's probably talked to her already, there's actually a new office assistant out there as well. So that's another new piece that school just needs. And Janet can't continue to run between the 2 schools. There's just too much going on in this time of COVID. So, so that's kind of what I heard. So that's the way I adjusted it. The long-term subs I took out, it didn't seem like that was a favor, that the board was in favor of using the money that way. Technology, the ed tech stipend, or excuse me, getting an ed tech at this point, we can get them on board. It'll cost us probably right around $40,000. I added in the COVID nurse on the final page for $60,000. Again, thinking we can get them on board in the next 2 to 3 weeks, if knock on wood, that may be wishful thinking, but, and then again, it was brought up and I thought it was a great suggestion. An elementary school counselor, both of those positions would be 1 year, or excuse me, all 3 of those positions would be 1-year positions that we would have to discuss if we want to move them forward into the regular budget, but we would make clear on hiring that at that point, it's just a 1-year position to finish the year. So those are kind of the adjustments, and that's our total. I started working on the grant on Tuesday. There's a lot to it, but I'm in pretty good shape. My timeline is to submit it on Friday. Just want to make sure there's no last minute adjustments before we hit submit. If there's any changes, I need to know about them now. So
David and then Tyler.
On the long-term subs, I recall hearing that it was very helpful having them. I'm not pushing to change it, but what was, or is it appropriate to hear whether that's from other than the board, there's been reaction as to the dropping that?
So I will share with you that the principals have asked for it, and I've told them something's got to give. If we do that, then something's got to come out. So yeah, my personal opinion is that's a lot of money for 1 year, and it solves a problem that we're just making a dent in. Subs is an issue, and we need to think about I'm going to use Patty as an example, making partnerships so that we can get subs into the building and they know they're welcome and stuff. I don't think hiring long-term subs is a good use of this money personally, although I definitely see the value of it. It just feels like a lot of money for a 1-year quick fix that's not going to solve our substitute problem next year.
To work on a long-term
Right,
solution.
exactly. Yeah.
And so that's not being forgotten.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Tyler? On the after-school programming.
Yep.
I'm assuming that I'm assuming we're dividing that number by 3.
Yep.
That first 50,000 is going to be for next summer
Yes.
or for this coming school year.
Yes.
Is 50,000 a year going to be enough?
Yeah, I think it is. Those after-school programs are actually not super expensive because usually we're paying staff for a couple of hours a week after school. Plus, usually there's some snacks and a few supplies depending on what they're doing. It's actually not a super expensive way to get enrichment out to students. And when 50,000, this actually opens a lot of opportunities K through 12. It's not just for elementary or just for high school. It opens a lot. So that's actually a fair amount of money, I believe, to be able to get some of these programs up and running.
Okay.
Great question.
Betty?
I heard the elementary principals in particular say that there are learning gaps. And are there any money for more remediation services?
So what we're trying to do right now is we are talking as a curriculum team about how to make the best use of the interventionist that you guys currently support in all of our schools. We know that we need to find a way to make sure that we are addressing more student need and we need to be more efficient with that time. So that's what we're kind of looking at right now is how do we identify those students and how do we group them together to make the most of that resource that we currently have. And I'll say this again, very honestly, we can advertise, but I'm not sure we're going to find people that are qualified to run intervention services because sometimes, honestly, those are sometimes your best teachers that you need because they're working with their neediest students. And with the way hiring is right now across the board, I don't think we're going to find people that are qualified that can make an immediate impact. So we've really taken the track of how do we make sure the resources we have, how are we using them more efficiently to reach more students? So.
Somebody else had the hand up.
Oh.
Go ahead, Kelsey.
Thanks, Dave. Another quick question about the COVID nurse.
Yep.
So two thoughts I had was, one, is there anybody already like queued up to be potentially hired for this? Are there people? No.
So just what we've done, very good question. Thank you for asking. So one of the things that we've done is Sarah Morrill is our health center director. She's actually a registered nurse. So what we're doing temporarily with her is giving her an extra day to work on COVID-related issues within our school. And that has really helped. But once we add in pool testing, then there's going to be a whole nother layer there.
Right.
So.
And
yeah.
that's my concern, is that I think I'm concerned that we're stretching the nurses as is really thin. And so the need for a COVID nurse would absolutely be there, you know, a whole nother person, but can we actually get another person? Do you think it's feasible quickly? So that nobody's spread too thin? And maybe we should put out a survey like thing to the people, because it sounds like you have to have X amount of people participating. So before we do all this work to queue up a COVID nurse, perhaps we should survey to see if everybody's actually on board in the community.
Yes.
Because I hate to do this and then everyone goes,
Right.
no, we're not doing it. I'm shocked all the time with the way things fly. So maybe step A is finding out how many people of the community would actually sign up, which I would think would be plenty, but I don't know.
Yep.
And then
Right.
really try to focus on an
Right.
extra nurse.
What I would do right now is advertise it as anticipated. So if we decide not to use it, we can. And we'll be looking at those permission slips next week. So then we'll have our hard and fast number, and hopefully we'll have applications, and then we can hopefully bring someone on fairly quickly there. So thank you for saying that.
Well, you bet.
Kim, did you have a question?
Maybe this is way too.
Oh, sorry. Maybe this is way too late in the process, but as I look at the numbers, the laptops is a huge chunk. We didn't talk about that I know we talked about it at budget time, because I remember it being a huge chunk at budget time. How did it end up here?
So very good. Again, that's a very good question. Now, remember the MLTI program ended and we had gone 5 years with it?
Yes.
And then they released late in June their, what they call their RFP, which is a request for bids for the devices and all that kind of stuff. So in order to have the devices in people's hands, we need to do it like yesterday, so to speak. So I did make the executive decision to move forward with the laptops, just because if we didn't, we would never have met, students wouldn't have laptops in their hands to start the school year. So it was a matter of time. It was more about time than anything else.
So, but we never put any of it into the actual regular old budget?
We did not.
And that feels like a mistake on our part.
Yeah. No, it was, I like Kelsey's comment, it was flying fast and furious when things came out. It was ridiculous.
And just a comment as far as the subs go, and I agree with David and you that perhaps it's not possible based on some of these other things, but just to note that I think it was 2 of our long-term subs we have officially given them positions this year. So that relationship is, I don't know who is the spearhead behind that, but someone with a lot of creativity should make that happen.
Just to follow up on Kim's comment right now about subs, I was wondering when you were talking, I totally understand what you're saying. And I also understand the words written here about how it was a lifeline last year. And I wonder if it costs more to scramble and hire people per diem than it does does it cost more to get subs? Do you get what I'm saying? If you don't have the long-term sub and you have to get a sub for the day, does that cost more?
No.
Or not more?
No, not typically not. The long-term subs have to have teaching degrees, so that does affect when you do a long-term. But in terms of day-to-day, it doesn't.
Okay.
It's cheaper to go day-to-day, I guess is what you're asking. Yeah.
And then I have a follow-up question to what Kelty was just asking, which is about the COVID nurse and kind of like my feeling about having a guidance counselor that would be more guidance available. I feel like I understand that when the pool testing thing gets going, we will absolutely need more nursing staff. But it seems like even if that wasn't happening, not every school has a nurse all the time, right? So some schools are in situations where they don't have a principal, don't have a nurse, and don't have a guidance counselor some days. And it seems like if we could get more of any or all of them, that would be really good. So I wouldn't want that nurse to go away that's on here, even if it's anticipated and we're waiting on the whole pool testing thing and waiting to pull parents, which I think makes total sense. I just wouldn't want it to go away because it seems like even separate from pool testing, we need it.
Yeah, there's those things I think we need to look at them, see what impact they have, and then discuss them at budget time this year. I agree with that. Because there are needs, absolutely.
Dean?
Is that Traversa busing track where is that kind of geared more towards for COVID this year or?
It helped. It certainly is going to help with COVID.
Right.
But it's also going to have capabilities for us going forward as well. The number that's there is a little bit larger than it would normally be because they're set up fee, equipment fees, et cetera. That's not going to be as high as kind of a year after year kind of number, I guess.
That was my, if it's going to be a reoccurring number, if it's going to increase or.
Right.
Okay.
But it won't be 53.9. It'll be much smaller. And I'm going to apologize. I'll get that number for you so we can have an idea. Oh, Bridget might know.
Sorry. And I don't have the paperwork with me tonight, but that section of Traversa that we're purchasing there, that has all of the iPads or I don't know if they're iPads or tablets, but that go on the buses, and it's all the training of all the staff. So I think it's only $6,000 a year after that for the maintenance of the program. So that one there is mostly equipment and training is mostly what that 53,000 is.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm going to stick with the Traversa because are there still concerns with the software that you were asking about last time? I don't know anything about it, which is why I'm pointing to you. I'm sorry to call you out, but
I'm still concerned. I don't know. I don't know if they have what they have for
if we've
firmware or what.
If we've mentioned some concerns on the whether or not those tracking mechanisms, then why spend the money on the program until we have those answers? If we could potentially put it into education and gaps in education.
I apologize. So just so you know, we have contracted with Drummond and Woodson to look at student data privacy issues, and Traversa is on that list. So they're doing that background work for us to know exactly what's going on, how, when, all that kind of stuff. And if there's red flags or things that schools need to know about, they're letting us know, and then they're working with the companies to make sure that they're following through on their data privacy stuff. So like the tracking stuff that Dane was talking about, like if you see it online, it's actually not going to tell you exactly where it is. It's going to tell you how far it needs to go, how long it'll take to get to you, but it isn't going to say, oh, it's on this road at this address right now. It's just going to say it's 10 minutes away from you, as an example. But that's something that we immediately put on the list for our lawyers. There's a whole list of software that we're working with the lawyers through on this.
I guess my point is, if we're saying that this is our last chance to look at it and we still have some questions about that, but we don't have any questions about the fact that we have large gaps in education, then do we have to do this?
Yeah, so this money is basically already spent as well, because we had to move to be able to have it in place for this. Yeah.
I was just going to ask if this is going to be an annual fee or if this is just for this year.
That's just for this year, and it would be about $6,000 is what Bridget had just said, as an annual cost going forward. But being able to, like, one of the things that it can do once it's all set is like send out instant alerts to parents, and it'll go just to like you. It won't go to, like, right now I send it to everybody, and I apologize for that. But in the future, it'll go to just those students that ride that bus. Those families will get just the information they need, and they won't have to see, you know, oh, what's going on kind of thing. So, yeah.
Tyler?
On the space reconfiguration, how much have we actually is spent and how much are we just allocating to be
Right.
spent?
So Reed Field, we've spent 84,997, but that's total. They're done at this point. So the rest that's there, you've got roughly what, 65, 75, almost what, another 85,000 roughly to be able to work with those other spaces.
And I guess my question is, if we're gonna spend money on a principal and we're gonna spend money on the ed techs and all of that, is that space requirement, I understand it being needed to be done. Could we take that money, use it for the potential learning gaps that we're gonna see once we get that data back?
Yeah.
And put those reconfigurations off until budget season?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's certainly something we could do. I just put it there thinking it's a place to put it. It doesn't hit the regular budget. But certainly if that's the feeling of the board, I'll redistribute that and get it into
80,000,
other lines.
That's
Yeah,
an extra 80,000 that we have to play with
right.
to throw it. I mean, I'd like to see it personally in summer programming and after school programming, because I think that's where we're gonna have the best shot to make up those learning gaps. But you know, I leave that at everybody else's discretion.
I agree with that.
So I agree with that also, except for I would like to see it not so much into the after-school programs as looking at our curriculum and how we're actually addressing these learning gaps within our curriculum and what changes that. And I know we are planning to do that. And some needs might come out of that curriculum meeting that we could maybe use this money for.
Yep.
And anybody else have anything to say about that? 'Cause I would also, go ahead.
I think that learning, reaching the kids who have the learning gaps is very important.
The other thing that I did want to say is, I agree with what Patty said about the nurse and the guidance counselor. I think if we do, I think we really should keep that in there for them. And I think we need to think about that just as being something that we're going to keep long-term. And I also just want to say that Jay did a really good job talking about the benefits of having a principal at Wayne. But I also think by having a principal at Wayne, that really benefits Mount Vernon as well, because Mount Vernon is a high-needs school, and to have Janet there full-time, I think would be very beneficial to those students as well.
Okay. So what I heard is I'll redistribute that 80,000 into areas that are going to go directly to students in terms of improving instruction or achievement. So I'll just redistribute that. And I will keep you guys posted as soon as I do that. So I just need to think through how to do that, but I will absolutely keep you guys posted.
I mean,
Thank
can we
you
just
guys
create
so,
like an 80,000 or like an $80,000 category that just says learning retention?
Yeah.
And we'll just have
Yeah.
$80,000 there for
Mhm.
once we get the
Yeah.
assessment data back,
Yeah.
we've got $80,000 that we
Yeah.
can hit the ground running.
Right. That's what I'll do is I'll write the project that way. So it's a little bit open-ended but we can target our need that way. So that sounds fantastic. Excellent. Thank you all.
Do you have what you need?
I do. Thank
Okay,
you.
good. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is board committees. So you have the list of what folks will be doing for the board committees. And does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns?
So just so the board knows, I am going to dismiss our administrators at this point because I feel like the rest is just kind of board business. So they do have to be in school early tomorrow. So I'm going to dismiss them at this point. I
Thank you.
apologize for the interruption.
Thank you all for coming. Have a good night. So just while they're leaving, we do have a open seat or whatever you want to call it for the Awesome Bear Society. So if anybody is interested in being our representative on
Is
the
that on
Awesome
Zoom?
Bear Society, we need somebody.
Do they meet on Zoom?
I don't know.
Because if they're on Zoom, I'll do it.
Betty?
This year, they were starting, their first meeting was in person. All last year, it was on Zoom.
Okay.
So they're coming back in person? Is that what you said?
This last meeting, their first meeting of this year was in person.
Okay. So you don't want to come up for that, Tyler? Anyone else interested?
I can't commit yet, but I might be stuck going on it for an actual sports, which I assume I can do dual role so I'm working on it. The challenge is it's on Wednesdays.
Oh,
So I'm like, how do I can't be in two places at once.
When
It doesn't impact every time that they meet, but it impacts, especially once we start budget season.
it didn't impact any of our meetings because they meet on I think it's the second week. But once we got into budget,
And how
I
many
was
would I
not
miss?
able
Like,
to.
was it 2?
I think it was more
More-
like 3.
Oh, yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be able to.
okay.
I guess is how I'd leave it, is maybe.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments about the committee assignments? Okay, great. All right, so next on the agenda is to take a look at what we started to do. I'm sorry, I have to keep taking my glasses off. I can't see, they're all steamed up. What we started to do about our norms for our meetings, we started to do that at our retreat back, seems like it was a long time ago, back in August. So in your packet, I think it was in the packet that Donna sent you, are the norms that Jay received, the suggestions for norms. Before we start to look at those, though, in your packet, I think everybody has something that looks like this in your folder. Everybody have one of these? This is I just wanted to remind us that we're all coming from a different way of communicating and a different way of thinking. And as we're working together, if we could just remind ourselves that I may be a thinker and I may need things done a certain way, but somebody else that might be a director might not like the way that I'm doing it. So we just have to think about how other people come to these kinds of decisions and how they communicate so that we can really be as effective as we possibly can. So I just wanted to remind us of that little activity that we did that night. So looking at the norms, does everyone have copies of the ones that Jay got and shared with us? They're right somewhere on the table. So what I'd like to have us do right now is just look over these again, and once you've had a chance to just look over them, I'd like you to talk to the person next to you about these norms and if there's, what you think of them, and if there's some there that you don't like, if there's something that's not there that you really need to be able to do your best work, that we could add something to that. So I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to look at these and talk to your neighbor, and I'm going to ask you after those 3 minutes to choose 5 norms to share that you think are really important, because it's really most effective if you only have about 5 norms to follow. So if we could just narrow that down to about 5, that would be helpful. Patty?
like if Tyler and I were paired together, we'd come up with 5?
Yes. So, but before you do that, just talk about them, talk about what the names are that people offered, and if there's others that you want to add to it, you know, just, or some that you absolutely don't want to live by. So. Okay, any other questions? So let's see, just. I'm not going to.
So just giving everyone a 1-minute warning. We're going to start together in 1 minute.
So the way we're going to do this is, I'm just going to go around to each pair and you'll just give me one and Jay's going to write it down. Then after we have them all down, we'll look, if there are any that are the same, Jay, you can just like make them check mark next to them. Sean, do you have a question? Oh, okay. Let's start. We'll see how we go. If we've got like 15,000 different ones. Okay, we're going to start right here. What's your first one? Listen to and respect all opinions. That's a great idea. Okay, did anyone else have that one? Yes, we did. We did. So make one other. Yeah, okay. You're disagreeing with that, huh? Patty, Tyler, you're next.
Roll call votes.
Roll call votes. Does anyone else have roll call votes? Kelty, no side conversation.
All right, all right. Keep kids at the center.
I wanted to have that one. I thought that was a given, but I guess maybe not. Okay. Yeah, I think he got it. Yeah, okay. Kim. Oh, I've got it right here, sorry. Come to meetings prepared. Anyone else have that one? Okay, we're going to back here. Next one. It's hard. We acknowledge it's hard. Anyone else have that one? Yes. Oh. Right, right, yes. Right, and we had that one too, so. So that, those two could kind of go together, right? Yeah, it's a good idea. Okay, do you need another piece of paper? It's right over there on the, Sean's partnership.
Share your ideas.
Okay, let's see. Share your ideas. Anyone else have that one? So we talked about that a lot because we actually had that one and we were trying to like narrow down because we had a lot of them. And we were thinking that that one really went along with give everyone time to speak, not having one person monopolize the discussion and share your ideas. It kind of was, so we thought that those kind of went together. Exactly. I know.
Somebody else had the same idea.
So, go ahead. I think we are. I was just going to say something. Something about, Patty, you're better at this than I am. Making sure that everybody gets a chance. Go ahead. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to talk about. Not very well, but what? Yeah. Well, actually, the mechanism is whoever wants to speak raises their hand and they are called on. Right. Right. I think as long as we understand that that's something that we all need to think about and make sure that, I'm not every 2 seconds raising my hand. Good idea. Oh, those. Yeah. Patty? Thank you. Okay, we good with that one? Did you have another one? Yeah, it's your turn. Absolutely. I'm not sure do you think that's a norm for our meetings? Yeah. The way we act and right. I think that is something that's important. It's actually one of our procedures and that it needs to stay in place as one of our procedures. I don't know where it would come in and I'm not sure it's a meeting norm. Yep. That's okay. Okay, we'll just leave it. That's good. We'll leave it like that then. You guys.
Don't interrupt me.
Oh, yeah.
Don't interrupt. Anyone else have don't interrupt? Well, that's the thing that we were like, okay, a lot of these like sort of mean the same thing. So yeah, and not interrupting is being respectful. Okay, so let's see. We had be open to all possibilities and listen to understand each other.
We had that too.
Okay. You got any more? Okay. How many check marks for this one? Be
We had
open to all possibilities and understand. just 1.5. You guys got another one? That's it? Did you share all yours? What else do you have? You did? Did we have be solution oriented? Yeah, right there. Okay, do we have?
We had, be responsible for the way you say things and speak without blame or judgment.
So we sort of had that one? So we had agree to disagree, which encompassed a lot of the same things like, listen respectfully, be aware of the way you're saying things in a non-judgmental, non-blaming way. So the next piece of this when we can whittle these down to 5 is just to really make sure that we all understand what they mean. Because I might think respect means one thing and you might think it means something else. So we really need to make sure that we have a common understanding of what we're saying we're going to do. Okay, so how many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Not bad. We wanted 5. So we can do one of two things. We can keep trying to whittle them down as a group. I mean, it is 20 of 8. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think it's, I don't have my glasses on. Oh, it's 8:07. Oh, it's later than I thought. But I want to make sure that everybody feels that they've had enough time to really say what you think about how our meetings should be run. So there's 2 things that we can do, right? 2 ways we can go. We can keep doing this until we can get down to the 5 that we agree on, or I could take them and just see what, combine the ones that I think are similar and then get them back out to you and see what you think. So I'm open to do whichever you want.
I think we're actually going to do all of these. I think we're going to do so I think it'll go well no matter what they end up. We should talk about roll call. That's the one. Either we're raising our hand or roll call.
Oh, that's a procedure as well. So, and I guess
If we do a Zoom policy, we will have to do that. If we go to a Zoom policy,
you have that one?
we can stay with the handbook. But if we go to a Zoom policy, we'll have to do that.
you guys wrote that one down, right? Is that, oh, you did, sorry. So is that okay with you if we call it a procedure and say if we have to go to Zoom, that we'll do it? You sure? Betty?
I think that there are some of those up there that can be combined. And I personally would appreciate it if you and maybe another person sat down and tried to do that. And if it comes down to 5, great. If it comes down to 6 or even 7, I don't think we should be hung up at 5, because I think we all thought these were important.
I agree. I think that's a good idea. What do other people think?
When we're defining, just to make sure we all understand that everybody is, so that you just do your best.
Absolutely. So I can add those words. Do the best you can to come to the meeting prepared. Prepared too, is prepared or prepared, whichever. Yeah. So, okay, so I'm willing to do that if that's the desire of the board. And then I'll send them back out and you can give me feedback.
If you
Okay.
wanted some help to do that, I would be
Oh,
glad
great.
to do
Okay.
that.
Thank you. And Patty? I do. I need help. Thank you. Okay, the last question that I have about our norms, thank you all for your participating and putting all these great ideas forward. The next question, and this is something that Kurt at our retreat asked, and it kind of keeps rolling around in my head, is how are we going to hold ourselves accountable to the norms that we agree on?
One way to do that is at the end of each meeting, just kind of briefly go through the norms. How did we do? I mean, I've done that at meetings.
Yep, I've been at in many team meetings that we do that at the end of every meeting. Just to, and what I've done before in meetings is have like one person really kind of watching the whole process and making sure that the process that everyone's following that, and looking at what we did really well at and where are some things that we need to improve on a little bit. So, just to think about. Yellow and red? Yellow and red? Good idea. Okay, so we can think about, the other thing that I've experienced in some meetings is that like when you come to a meeting, you think to yourself, okay, I am really needing to work on listening to and respecting all opinions. That's what I'm going to work on during this meeting, and just thinking about my own behavior throughout the whole meeting and how that's going to look.
We have the vision statement and all of that. Is there some way that we could take a corner of this and put our norms so that we are aware of our norms each time?
And that's a great idea if we could do that. I was thinking that I was going to make a big poster, but and just have it, here. Just. It's like exit slips, yeah. Oh, it's a how score? Yeah, yeah. Habits of, right. Habits of, it is habits of work.
It could be HUN.
Right.
It could be HUN, habits of norms.
Patty?
Can you hear me?
I can hear, I don't. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think if we do that, it should be somebody different at each meeting, if we decide that's how we want to do it. Or we can just, we can just agree to hold ourselves accountable and really think about hun. Okay, so anything else on the norms? And in all my experience and my research in my leadership roles that I've had, it's proven that when teams have norms, they really do work in a more effective way together. And we really want to make sure that we're working together because we're the role models. We really are role models for everyone else in this district. The kids, the staff, the parents, everybody. So I think it's really important that we understand why we're doing this and how to really be a cohesive group, even when we agree to disagree. Because I think when we disagree with each other and we do it in a respectful way, it's helpful. And we can all grow and come up with some really good ideas when we listen to everybody else. So.
One other thing we could do is to put if we do a self-evaluation at the end of this school year, like we did last year, of how we did, it could be based on whatever our norms are.
Right. Good idea. Okay. So we'll move, what? Well, not yet, because we do have something, we also have goal setting. And as I was sitting down this afternoon planning all this stuff, I'm thinking to myself, how are we going to do all this with norms and goal setting? I don't know that we may have to put the goal setting off to the next meeting, if that's okay with everyone. The only thing I did want to say is, as we're thinking about what we want as board goals, whether it's one goal, two goal, however many goals, it's really important that we connect those to the goals that the administrative team has come up with for the district goals, so that we're really supporting the work that they're doing. So I think as we're thinking about, so maybe at the next meeting, we could come with some ideas about what goals we want for the board for the year.
If I
Absolutely.
I included, just so you guys know, like a one-page summary. I didn't give you the 8-page document with all the steps and action items and timelines and all that kind of stuff, because you probably don't want to get that far into the weeds. But what we did is I just want you guys to know, we took our strategic plan and used that as our basis for trying to align what we're doing across the district. So when you see priority goals, like number 1, number 2, number 3, and then the goal underneath, that's straight from the strategic plan. Then what we did is gave you a rationale for why, what our SMART goal is, and then what team members are kind of working on that goal as part of it. Just so you know, and I know there's lingo in there, so please feel free to reach out if you're like, Jay, what does this mean? I don't even know what MTSS is, as an example. It's multi-tiered stages of support. And even that, you're probably like, so what is that? So I don't want to try to do that at 8:15 on a Wednesday night. So please feel free to reach out if you want to discuss those in any way. You can give me a call, you can shoot an email, whatever is easier to help understand kind of what the goals are and what we're doing around them. But we spent quite a bit of time working on these. And it feels really good to know that our goals are aligned across schools for the first time in a long time. Basically, since I've been here, we have goals that everyone's kind of shooting at the same target now, which feels really good. And it addresses some of the things the board has brought up at previous years. So just so you guys know, feel free to reach out and I can explain and give you more information. I know tonight's probably not the time to do that, but just that little bit. Turn it back over to Kathy.
Thank you, Jay. So just, as you're thinking about what our board goals are, think about basically how can we support what the staff is doing for our kids. You can leave it in there. You have it on, I think you have it anyway online in the packet if you need to look at it. Yeah, that would be good to leave this one in there too, just so that we can remind ourselves of where we're coming from. Okay, anything else? Any motions? Second? All those in favor? Awesome. Thank you all very much. Have a great night.